Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Alex from Keynnect. If you're running loads based on last month's intel, you're leaving money on the table. The freight market just shifted hard in the past 2 weeks, and I'm seeing owner-ops who get this make an extra $500, $800 per week while others are spinning their wheels. I've been in this business for 15 years, and I'm telling you, August 2025 is a lane-by-lane game like I've never seen before. The national averages are lying to you. Here's what's really happening on the ground. After that late July pop, we all felt, when loads were posting faster than we could grab them, demand just cooled off. But here's the kicker. We're still running 7% higher than last year across most segments. The problem? Capacity is all over the map. I was just talking to a dispatcher in Atlanta last week who couldn't find trucks at $2.20 a mile, while my buddy running the West Coast was turning down 160 loads all day. The brutal truth, your zip code matters more than the DOT's national statistics. Let's start with dry van, the bread and butter for most of you. Load to truck ratio hit 5.7 last week, down from the previous week but still solid. Line hauls averaging 1.64 per mile, with all-in rates sitting around $1.95 to $2.05. But here's where experience pays off. I've been tracking the top 50 lanes, and they're running closer to $1.99 line haul. The difference between a rookie dispatcher and a veteran, knowing which lanes those are. Regional reality check. Northeast is ice cold at 180 average. I watched a driver sit in Newark for 16 hours last week, waiting for a decent load. Meanwhile, South Texas border markets, McAllen, Laredo, are on fire. Florida outbound, dead. The produce season wrapped up, and rates fell off a cliff. If you're dead heading out of Miami expecting 2 Doze Road Pulse loads, you're going to be disappointed. Reefer drivers, pay attention. Load posts dropped 20% week over week. Load to truck ratio jumped to 9.6. That sounds good until you realize line haul rates are softening to $1.95 per mile. Here's what I'm seeing in the field. West and upper Midwest are still strong. Northeast is struggling. And Florida, forget about it. With citrus output at historic lows, outbound reefer demand is practically non-existent. But here's the opportunity. Tender rejections are running 13-16%. That tells me there are still pockets of tightness if you know where to look. GA and Alabama late-season produce runs are where smart reefer operators are positioning themselves right now. Flatbed runners, you're in the sweet spot. If you're in the right geography, load to truck ratio at 21, line haul averaging 2.03 per mile, all-in rates in the high 250s. But here's the key. Southeast and South Central are leading at $2.70 plus per mile. Houston, Laredo, Memphis, New Orleans, Mobile, these are your money markets. West is softer. I ran flatbed for 12 years before I got into dispatching, and I'm telling you, if you're running platform equipment, park your truck south of the Mason-Dixon line. That's where the industrial projects and energy work are paying premium rates. Let me break down the Florida versus Texas situation because this is critical for route planning. Florida right now is a trap. Van and reefer outbound rates are in the basement. You're looking at longer dwell times and lower rates. I had a driver call me Tuesday morning. He'd been sitting in Tampa for 8 hours. Best offer was 1.45 per mile to Atlanta. That's barely covering fuel and overhead. Texas is the opposite story. Border activity is keeping McAllen and Laredo hot for vans. Energy and industrial projects across the Gulf Coast are sustaining flatbed demand. My tactical advice, favor Texas origin lanes. Treat Florida outbound as repositioning unless you're getting premium rates, and I mean 20% above market premium. All right, here's your playbook for the rest of August. First, bid where the outbound tender rejection index is hot, southeast and border markets. Trim exposure where it's cold. Second, keep your fuel math tight. Diesel's been creeping up, and I'm seeing too many drivers focus on line haul while ignoring all-in costs. Third, watch lane pairs, not single hauls. I learned this the hard way in 2019 when I took a great rate into a dead market and spent 2 days dead heading out at my own expense. Fourth, split your mix. Lock decent contract rates on cold lanes for predictable income. Hunt spot market opportunities in hot micro markets for upside. Now here's the curveball that's catching drivers off guard. Since June 25th, the English language proficiency enforcement got teeth. Over 1,200 drivers have been placed out of service already, and we're only in early August. I've been through 3 different ELP enforcement waves in my career, and this one feels different. State-by-state rollout is uneven. California and Pennsylvania were slow to start, but they're ramping up fast. What this means for you, capacity is trimming at the margins, CSA scores are at risk, and inspections are taking longer. I saw a driver in Georgia last week spend 45 minutes in an inspection that normally takes 15 minutes. Action item, audit your documentation now. Don't wait for a roadside surprise. For you owner-operators, here's how to win this week. Vans, Texas to Southeast or Midwest for yield. Treat Florida outbound as reposition moves only. Reefer, chase Georgia and Alabama late-season produce. Minimize Florida exposure unless rates spike above $2.20 all in. Flatbed, prioritize Gulf Coast and South Central projects. Pre-book your weekend reloads. Don't get caught with your pants down on Sunday night. Looking ahead, expect bumpy but gradually firming conditions into back-to-school season and hurricane season. Regional spreads are going to persist, which means your pricing power is local, not national. 3 fast wins for this week. 1. Refresh your lane scorecards. Update rates, dwell times, and rejection data for Southeast and Texas border zones. 2. Tighten your reload plans for Florida outbound. Have backup options mapped before you deliver. 3. Run a compliance check on ELP documentation across your operation. Don't let a paperwork issue sideline your revenue. Bottom line, the freight market is rewarding smart positioning and punishing lazy decision-making. The data is there, the opportunities exist, but you have to be tactical about where and how you chase them. If this analysis helped you see opportunities you missed, hit that like button and subscribe to stay ahead of market moves. We drop fresh intel every week because in this business, yesterday's data is tomorrow's missed opportunity. Keep your wheels turning and your rates rising. We'll see you next week with another market breakdown.